talking about a singer whose song that just blew up on TikTok recently this year that has a very both sides opinion of the politicians, and that is Chappell Roan. And in her first video from September, she explains that people need to use critical thinking skills because she thinks that both the Democrats and the Republicans are bad, although she was being very vague on not saying what policies has the Democrats done that are bad. And she says that people have misunderstood her without reading the full context of the article correctly.
I have encouraged people to use critical thinking skills, learn about what they're voting for, learn about who they're voting for, and ask questions. And it's being completely taken out of context, per usual. There is nuance to what I say in interviews. And I think it's important that people use critical thinking. I think it's important for me to question authority and question world leaders and question myself, question my algorithm, question if some person that tweeted something about someone else is even true. It's important to question because that's how I think we move forward.
I agree that it's okay to question world leaders, just as long though as it's not unnecessary, because there are times when people on the internet have questioned President Biden for unnecessary reasons that I will one day talk about very soon because I know it's going to happen again. That completely rubs me off the wrong way because people these days don't know the meaning of civics.
This is my third election in voting, and the world is changing so rapidly, and I want to be part of the generation that changes things for good because we need it. If you come to my shows, if you read my full interviews, if you literally know anything about me and for what I stand for, you know that this is not lip service, this is not virtue signaling, that my actions have always paved the way for my project and the people who really know me. Actions speak louder than words, and actions speak louder than an endorsement.
Okay. I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm guessing this is why people were mad at her for her first statement on TikTok.
Here's the full quote that a lot of people are just not reading. I have so many issues with our government in every way, she says. There are so many things that I would want to change, so I don't feel pressured to endorse someone. There's problems on both sides, and I encourage people to use your critical thinking skills. Use your vote. Vote small. Vote for what's going on in your city. The change she wants to see in the US is this election year, she says, instantly is trans rights. They cannot have cis people making decisions for trans people, period.
The one thing that turned me off on the first video statement she made about this is that she didn't cite the name of the said article that she read that she was being interviewed from. All she did was that she read a quote from an unnamed news source that interviewed her. So I think Chappell Roan needs to work on giving out the name of the article of the publication that wrote it.
So, hear it from my mouth, if you're still wondering. No, I'm not voting for Trump. And yes, I will always question those in power and those making decisions over other people. And I will stand up for what's right and what I believe in. And it's always at the forefront of my project. And I'm sorry that you fell for the clickbait.
The next video I'm going to show you, which is from the next day after, she also wasn't being very forthcoming on that video as well, as she tries to blame both sides, and that time around she was falsely accusing the Democrat Party for being homophobic when in reality that's just not actually true, as the Democrats have stood up for trans rights over the years, including LGBTQ rights itself over the years, and that she can't endorse Kamala Harris because of fucking Palestine.
I just woke up, and to like people just skewing it even more, endorsing and voting are completely different. I don't agree with a lot of what is going on with like policies. Like, obviously, fuck the policies of the right, but also fuck some of the policies on the left. That's why I can't endorse.
Like what? What policies on the Democrats do you hate? You haven't addressed those.
That's why I can't like put my entire name and my entire project behind one. Because there is no way I can stand behind some of the left's completely transphobic and completely genocidal views.
Does she actually explain what the left's completely transphobic and genocidal views are? Because last I checked, there were not.
So yeah, there are huge problems on both. You know what is right and wrong, and so do I.
But she has again yet to explain point by point what they are. I'm starting to slowly understand why people are mad at her now.
Fuck Trump for fucking real, but fuck some of the shit that has gone down in the Democratic Party that has failed people like me and you.
I can appreciate her viewpoint to some degree, but I don't think it's fair to criticize both parties when one party, back in 2017, were doing the most. The policies that the Republicans have created back in 2017 through 2020 were way, way worse. So this comparison between the Democrats and the Republicans doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever to criticize both parties.
And more so, Palestine. And more so, every marginalized community in the world. So no, I'm not gonna settle for what the options that are in front of me. And you're not gonna make me feel bad for that. So yeah, I'm voting for fucking Kamala.
Okay, so listen. It's come to my attention that there are some folks who struggle or pretend to struggle with the proper pronunciation of our future president's name. So, hear me out. Confusion is understandable. Disrespect is not. So tonight, we are going to help everyone get it right. Here to help me are some very special guests. Thank you, ladies. Can you tell us your names?
Hello, everybody. My name's Amara. And my name is Leela, her little sister.
And what are you here to do?
To teach you how to say your auntie's name.
Okay. So, how do you pronounce it?
First, you say comma like a comma in a sentence. Then you say la like la 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 la.
Put it together, and it's 1, 2, 3, Kamala. All right, so let's practice. Let's practice.
Everybody over here, say comma. Everybody over here, say la.
Together. For president!
Anyway, just thought I'd put that clip out there, whether Chappell Roan did was intentional or not.
But I'm not settling for what has been offered because that's questionable. It's questionable that our actions of our government, the actions of the internet, the actions of you and me. If this is what you are not understanding, you know what? Endorsing someone If someone is publicly endorsing a political figure, that doesn't even mean that they're gonna fucking vote for them.
The problem with you is that you're not being very articulate. You are not being very articulate on what you're trying to say. That is why people got mad at you. So don't blame them for that.
Because as I said in my other video, actions speak louder than words. And I'm not gonna let this narrative of like me not playing both sides. No. This is not me playing both sides.
No, that's exactly what you were doing. It was pretty clear.
This is me questioning both sides because this is what we have in front of us.
The way you were questioning both sides is actually both sides seeing them, like if they were the same, and both political parties are not.
So if you look at my statement and you're still like, she's just playing both sides, like she doesn't want to, no, you're not getting it. I'm critiquing both sides because they're both so fucked up.
Okay, since you're very, very clueless about who's actually fucked up, let me actually show you the difference between both Republicans and Democrats. 1. Views on corporate power. 2. Helping poor people. 3. Corporate responsibility. 4. The right to healthcare. 5. Government spending. 6. Different ideas of patriotism. 7. Environmental protections. 8. Economic recovery. 9. Corporate responsibility. 10. Healthcare system. 11. Who does Congress work for? 12. Influence over Congress. 13. Corporate abuse. 14. Taxes. And last but not least, 15. Money and politics. So bottom line, saying that both parties are fucked up is insane reach to make. Because you don't know what the Democrat Party actually stands for, and you are not politically aware. That's why you're having a nuanced take. And a pretty bad one of that. No offense.
Voting is all we have right now in the system. And so I encourage it, yet again, vote for who, in your mind, is the best option for what we have right now.
And the best option that we have right now is Kamala Harris. So yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
Because it's all we can do. And I hope this makes it clear that no, I'm not picking the sides of what we have right now. Yes, one's obviously better than the other. But Jesus fucking Christ, I hope you don't settle for what we have.
Huh? Okay, you just said that you are going to vote for Kamala Harris. And now you're saying that you're not picking the sides of what we have right now? Which is it, Chappell Roan? Patriotism or fascism?
And put your name behind someone that you don't fully trust because of their blatant actions.
Look, I know she's saying this because Kamala Harris is part of the Biden-Harris administration, but also understand that the vice president does not have all the power to call Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone and say, hey, Bibi, ceasefire right now, please. Because only the president of the United States can do that. But blaming both Democrats and Republicans is just stupid. This Twitter user who defended Chappell Roan says, just saw someone make a TikTok about how upsetting it is that Chappell Roan wore boots from a controversial brand and should apologize and pronounce Kamala Harris correctly. Can we just learn to accept that people aren't going to know every single controversy or pronunciation of things? No, because it will incentivize those to do it purposefully and intentionally. And besides, do you really want to give this racist man a pass?
Radical, liberal, Kamala Harris gets in. And by the way, there are numerous ways of saying her name. They were explaining to me, you can say Kamala, you can say Kamala. I said, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter what I say. I couldn't care less if I mispronounce it or not. I couldn't care less. Some people think I mispronounce it on purpose, but actually I've heard it said about 7 different ways. There are a lot of ways. There are a lot of...
That's why it is important to say her name correctly. And pronouncing someone's first name or last name is the base level of respect. And when people see this video on TikTok and think that, what is she trying to say? And then immediately hearing Kamala Harris's name pronounced wrong, they will think, rightfully so, that you're not being serious of what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to speaking against our government officials. That's why people like Corey Lewandowski would purposely mispronounce Kamala Harris's name. It even reminded some people who purposely mispronounced Kamala Harris's name when Bush started pronouncing Arabs as Arabs. And the rest is history when every bigoted fuckhead continues to this day to mispronounce names of certain people and possibly certain countries. If you're still saying Kamala on September 25th, 2024, then you are getting all your info from within your little Republican bubble. Drew Bit says these people pronounce Missouri as Missouri. Don't nitpick a small pronunciation error. It's the least of her issues. See, I'm not gonna let things be on the internet alone as they are just because somebody in real life chose to mispronounce Kamala Harris's name. That's not right. I have no idea what's in Rowan's heart, but when Trump and TG or Nancy Mace mispronounce Kamala in this exact same way, it's an intentional sign of disrespect. So it's worth correcting. Exactly, because not correcting someone for how they pronounce their name is a big misstep. This was another word salad, but to mispronounce Kamala's name is egregious, and I feel like it was intentional. Like, liberals can be racist and biased too, and boy, does Miss Thing show that here. She can also be a misguided person who wasn't taught very well on how to pronounce people's names correctly, which is what you have to do if you know that person very well, because it shows an admirable amount of respect. Jake Perk says white people have always tried to steal black people's names away from us to dehumanize. They mock our proud African family names as ghetto and act like they can't pronounce complex names, and it is an act. All who still mispronounced Kamala in 2024 are guilty of this. And besides, I know when someone mispronounces a name. About 4 years ago, I had a beef with a small YouTuber, and he was criticizing me for criticizing him over a 10K small YouTuber. And that YouTuber that I criticized back in the day was saying my last name wrong. So I had to correct him. And when this small commentary YouTuber back in the day did a live stream by reacting to videos about him, I decided that in October 2020 that I would make this video to address how my last name is pronounced, because people have pronounced my last name wrong before. My old middle school teacher, who then became my high school librarian a few years ago when I used to be in Gloucester High School pronounced my last name wrong in the past. So I politely corrected her that she made a mistake and said that my last name is pronounced Paquiot, not Paquiot. This happened 15 years ago at O'Malley Middle School, but yeah. Mrs. Feener, who was my former middle school teacher, did pronounce my last name wrong, so I corrected her. And she was cool with it because she didn't actually know how my last name is pronounced. So if you're only saying this because there are some people who are going to do that in a non-intentional way, then fine. But it is still important to correct people like Chappell Roan who are going to mispronounce things. We're not going to stop doing that. Listen, I'm sure there are things to criticize both political parties for, but when you try to make a poorly executed argument as to why you hate the way that Democrats do it, I'm just going to assume that you know nothing about how politics actually work, and that you're only into it because you only care about a certain people who live in a certain country that is being killed by a certain military group from another country. And what you need to fucking realize is that not endorsing a candidate just because of something that is out of the United States' control is not going to help us beat Donald J. Trump, you idiot. And you need to be a little bit more educated on politics before you even speak on things. Because if your only political issue is the one thing that happened between Israel and Palestine, then I cannot really take you seriously. Because Donald Trump is going to be worst on every single issue, including of what's going on in the Middle East. And as for the homophobic, genocidal views part, girl, come on. You are overreaching. There is nothing there that a Democrat politician would say that is extremely homophobic or genocidal. And if you're not gonna understand the good policies that the Democrats have made, that's on you, not them. And you want to talk about using critical thinking skills? Why didn't you tell people the name of the article that you were interviewed from? I just found it after it took me a month later to figure out which article that you were reading from. Since you didn't actually cite the name of the article and the publication that wrote it. Just maybe you could have done that in order for it to make sense as to what people were confused of what you were saying. And for God's sakes, TikTok has filters for a reason. You could have used a green screen filter to show it on your video so we can see it directly, because nobody fucking knows what you were being interviewed from and why. Like, seriously, do you expect people who are not on the internet to fucking know where they're reading from? Because nobody is on the internet a lot, and they don't know what article you were on. So it would be polite for you to name the article, so that way a lot of folks can actually know what you're sourcing here. And bottom line, just don't try to be so contradictory to yourself when you say you're gonna vote, but yet you also say that you're not gonna pick the side of what we have right now. Because that just gives mixed alarming signals of you saying, I'm gonna vote, but I'm not gonna vote at all. Because that doesn't help explain things better the way it should be. So, in order to have a nuanced take, you have to be a little bit more accurate as to what you're trying to say. You can't just be vague about it. even though it's not your fault that you didn't create a somewhat clickbait article, you're the one who was interviewed by them, and you're the one who is supposed to clear things up by being a little bit more articulate on the things you say. And I know I said that already, but it's something that you really have to work on. And you've done a pretty poor job at that.